Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Arshad Khan from JSMU Anatomy Department. Today we will talk about the sexual dimorphism in the human bones. Sexual dimorphism is basically a term used when some species exhibit different characteristics and those characteristics are not directly involved in reproduction. Dear students, although there are many allometric differences on the basis of sex in humans, but today we will talk about only the most important anatomical dimorphic bones of the human body. So, the objective of this session is to enable students to describe the general and specific dimorphic anatomical features of the human bones, and will also be able students will also be able to demonstrate the knowledge of determination of sex in the skeletal remains. Dear students, in cases of accidents like fire, explosions, road traffic accidents, and in cases of unknown or decomposed bodies, or we can say dismembered body parts, or even in skeletal remains, one of the most important evidence is the identification of the body, and which usually starts with the determination of the sex of the victim or the body, and it is also in need on the basis of both on humanitarian and legal grounds to assess the society and the law in the required proceedings. Linking of a known body or a skeleton back to an individual of known identity and is important for both legal and humanitarian reasons. In cases of as I already mentioned, accidents, fires, explosions, unknown dead bodies, decomposed dead bodies, mutilated bodies, skeletal remains, dismembered parts, all required identification, and the identification starts with the determination of sex of the victim. Beside these, you can see here a burned body, very difficult to recognize, the skeletal remains very difficult to identify, and the different bones in the museum or the labs or in the forensic labs. They are all it is very difficult if someone asks to find out the identification, then we have to go first for the determination of sex and then follow the proceedings. Being a medical student or medical professionals of the futures, the knowledge of differentiating features of males and female human bone is very important in diagnosis, management, treatment, in examinations, and in clinical practice. You can see here in cases of insurance, disputed sex, missing persons, and sometimes to identify the suspect or the criminals, the determination of sex is of key importance, and this will help and guide the law and the authorities to have justice in the society. So, come to the point now. The topic of dimorphism. We are, in general, within the same population, the bones in males are larger, heavier, and more robust as compared to females. Similarly, there is also larger joint surface and more bone development at the muscle attachment site. Here is a tabular chart showing the accuracy of sexing based on the skeletal remains. When we have entire skeleton, we can reach accuracy of about 100% or up to 100%, or when we have skull and the pelvis only, we can reach up to 98%. Then the pelvis alone, which is also known as the best single bone for determination of sex, about 95%. Skull alone, some 92%, whereas with the long bones we can reach up to 80 to 85%. And if we got long bones plus pelvis, or we can say the lower limb, then we can reach the accuracy of about 98% again. Here is the picture. You can see the difference is quite evident. Enlarged pelvic cavity in case of females, whereas in case of male it is smaller, narrower, and you can say false pelvis. In case of male it is large as compared to the size of the pelvis, whereas in case of female the false pelvis is small as compared to the size, inner cavity of the pelvis, pelvic cavity. So there are some points of comparison on which we can compare a male pelvis with the female pelvis. Number one is the general structure, that is, in case of male we can say it will be more tougher. Similarly, false pelvis, about false pelvis differences, and then pelvic inlet, acetabulum size, obtutor foramen size and angle, pubic arch, its shape, or we can say its angulation. Then here you can see male pelvis versus female pelvis. In the picture one, you can see in blue it is narrow and the pelvic cavity is small, whereas on the right side it is large with a larger pelvic cavity and the wider pubic arch, which is shown in the pink or red color. Here is the sketch. You can see pelvic inlet in female is oval shape. In case of male it is heart shape or notched, whereas the pelvic outlet in case of female is broad and almost round, whereas in case of male it is more oval and small. Then pelvic cavity in case of female is cylindrical, or we can say a bowl shape, whereas a broad bowl shape, whereas in case of male it is funnel like. Then pubic arch in female it is U shape, whereas in case of male it is inverted V shape. Here you can see again subpubic angle. In case of female pelvis it is about 80 to 85 degrees, whereas in case of male it is about 50 to 60 degrees. Similarly, the pelvic inlet, we can say, that is in case of female it is almost round, whereas in case of male it is heart shape or notch shape, shown in the with the red line in the picture. And there is prominent projecting promontory of the sacrum in case of male, which whereas in case of female it is not so prominent and it's somewhat backward, which increases the size of the pelvic cavity for pregnancy and parturition, or which helps during labor, because the size of the pelvic cavity is increased in these cases. So here is the difference in the form of a tabular chart. General appearance in case of male: massive, rougher, prominent muscular marking. In case of female it is less massive, smoother muscular markings, not prominent. Then when we talk about the shape, so can say in case of male it is deep funnel, as we have seen earlier, and in case of female it is flat bowl like, Acetabulum size is about 52 millimeter in diameter in cases of male, whereas in cases of female it is small, about 46 millimeter. And obturator foramen large and oval, whereas in case of female it is small, triangular, apex forward. That is to give maximum space in the pelvic cavity. Then sciatic notch, narrow, deep and small, whereas in case of female it is broad, shallow and large. Iliopectoral line well marked and rough, whereas in case of female it is rounded and smooth. Ischial tuberosity, in males it is inverted, in females it is inverted. Suprapubic angle V-shaped, sharp angle in case of male, whereas in case of female it is U-shaped, rounded, broader angle about 90 to 100 degrees, whereas the pelvic brim or the inlet is heart shape in case of males, whereas in case of female is circular or elliptical shape. Pelvic cavity conical shape in case of male, whereas in female it is broad and round. Pelvic outlet in male is smaller, in female it is larger. Sacroiliac articulation. Sacroiliac articulation extends up to 2 to 3rd sacral vertebra in case of males, whereas in case of female it only extends up to 1 to 2 vertebrae, whereas the coccyx in male is less movable, whereas in female it is more movable. So now we come to the second bone, which is the also very important bone in determination of the sex. It is the sacrum. About sacrum dimorphism, it is said that it is noticeably sexually dimorphic. In the female, the sacrum is shorter, wider than in male, and the bone is also directed more obliquely backward, which increases the size of pelvic cavity, and straighter in males and curved in females. Here you can see it is more wider in female whereas compared to male, and shorter as compared to male, and inverted or curved in case of female, whereas in case of males it is not so inverted or curved. Then we talk about the mandible, which is also very important, and the main difference is usually at the size of the ramus and the angle of the mandible and the symphysis. The ramus mandible is in the male is closer to a right angle than the female. In the female, the ramus is an obtuse angle to the lower jawbone greater than 90 degrees. The ramus in male is wider and larger. You can see also in the picture here the broader ramus, 90 degree at this side, and here is the tabular chart again to show the difference, which shows the difference between male and female mandible. We can see general appearance as in general larger and thicker in male, and in case of female smaller and thinner. Chin, that is symphysis menti, square or U-shaped. In case of female it is rounded. Angle of mandible everted. In case of female it is inverted. Body height at the symphysis is greater, and in case of female it is smaller. Ascending ramus greater breadth के साथ है, then in female it is smaller breadth, and muscular markings are prominent in case of males, whereas in case of females they are not prominent. Here you can see U-shaped female mandible, and in case of male it is U-shaped, and in case of female it is rounded, and the symphysis and the distance between, you can see here, ascending ramus and mandible prominent, that is body height of the symphysis is greater in male, whereas in case of female mandible it is smaller, where you can see body height of the symphysis is higher. Okay, now we'll talk about the diagnostic indices of the sex discrimination, which are very important, and they give approximate results about the accuracy in determination of sex in both males and females. Basically, the pubic bone of adult female is longer than the male, and the ischium bone of the adult male is longer than the female in the pelvic bone, and the ischium pubic index takes an advantage of this relation. That is, we can say ke Wassermann index or the ischiopubic index, as we said earlier ke the pubic bone of adult female is longer than the male, and the ischium bone of the adult male is longer than the female. So there is a difference in the ratio. There is a ratio between the length of the pubis and the length of the ischium, and when we this is about, in case of male it is 73 to 94, and in case of female it is about 91 to 115. Similarly, Stern index is also a reliable index in the sex determination, and that is the length of the manubrum and the length of the body of the sternum multiplied by 100, which gives, in case of male it is about 46.2, and in case of female it is about 54.3. And then the corporobasal index, which relates the transverse diameter of the body of the first sacral vertebra in relation to the width of the sacrum, and this is also, in case of male it is more than 42, and in case of female it will be less than 42. And then the sacral index, transverse diameter of the base of the sacrum upon the anterior length of the sacrum into 100, and this is, in cases of the result is, in cases of male is about less than 114, whereas in case of female the number will be more than 114. Okay guys, is there any question or anything you want to ask? You can ask me on the WhatsApp group, and also on the chat, whereas there will be a quiz in the lecture. I will introduce a quiz in the lecture, and you have to attend it. The attendance is mandatory in this quiz, and you will get the marks you will obtain will be included in your final results. So please take interest and to attend the quiz. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.